the aims of the framework are really to try to steer corporate reporting over the coming decades, to try to get more consistency and breadth, not necessarily length, to corporate reports, and have them be more consistent across these areas around the world, or at least the major capital markets. As I said, they brought the policymakers, regulators, and standard setters into the tent, recognizing that it will take not only their involvement, but potential action to make some of this happen. They put out the discussion paper, and the conducting a pilot program. And one of the points is that the initial focus is targeted at larger companies, particularly multinationals, and at investors as the key audience for corporate reporting. And one of the questions they ask is that the right focus? I think the thinking is that in terms of larger companies, and the view is that tend to be more complex, and if you can develop a good framework for integrated reporting for them, that it might, to then tailor it for the SME market would be doable. I would also say that my own belief is that governmental entities are also very important to this as well in their reporting, since governments and their actions also influence a number of things related particularly to the environment. If you go to the actual discussion document, for those of you who are interested, I would encourage you to read it. It's a pretty easy read. It lays out potential benefits, and challenges by different constituents or stakeholders in the financial reporting supply chain. And I'm not going to go over each of those, but the kind of benefits that it sees is that first, that there'll be a better awareness and understanding across the many players of the importance of these various factors in driving corporate value, sustainability, and the like, and that will then affect decisions. It will affect decisions at the companies in terms of their own strategy development and actions, goals and the like. It'll also influence the capital allocation by investors. And there is some evidence of some of things like that. First of all, in the investing world, there are increasingly investment funds that are more targeted, or at least have as screens how they believe different companies do on various measures of environmental, social, and governance aspects of their business. And in fact, there's some early research that a copy of the title page and abstract is in your packets there by a couple of folks at Harvard University and one at the London Business School that seems to provide some empirical evidence that companies and boards of directors of companies that pay more real substantive attention to those kinds of issues, environmental, social, governance type issues, have better financial performance and stock performance over the long term. So, some of this seems to be borne out. I think there's a view also that this will build just better trust among the different players in the capital markets, that there is more trust by investors, by the broader public in companies that are seen to care about these issues and actually walk the talk. Now, at the same time, those of us who live in the current real world understand that there'd be a lot of challenges to achieving the kind of reporting that is the aspiration of the IARC. And I'm from the land of the lawyers. To paraphrase our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, in his famous Gettysburg Address, we are kind of a country of the lawyers, by the lawyers, and for the lawyers. And old man litigation is a big issue with anything that gets at potentially more and different disclosure. There are all sorts of other issues around fiduciary duties of directors. Where does it lie? This kind of suggests that there should be a broader set of fiduciary duties. There are issues potentially around disclosure of what might be viewed proprietary or confidential information. There are issues around gathering the information, some of the information here. Can it be done? If it can be done, how much is it going to cost? Should there be, auditor assurance involvement or not, and the like. And I think there's some concern also that unless this really is done in a coordinated way, this might just be additive. So instead of the dream of having things more focused, more concise, focus on the things that really count, that you might have this, but then you have all the rest of it as well. In terms of future direction, there's the pilot program. They're hoping to develop a more concrete exposure draft of the framework in 2012 and to continue to work with others through the IRC, through various seminars, forums, people involved in the pilot program. And I think, one of the aims also is to get more formal endorsement, for example, by the G20 at that level. Let me just give you kind of a glimpse of, to the extent the thinking about a framework exists at this point, and understand that this is very much a work in progress and we're still very early on in it. But people say, well, what's different about all this? Well, here's a chart that lists some of the at least aspired to differences. The first thing in terms of, what integrated reporting would address is not just financial and physical capital, but all forms of capital or different forms of capital, and I'll talk about that. They view that current financial reporting is primarily backward-looking. I think that's a little of an oversimplification, but certainly this would view things not only backward, but certainly forward-looking as well. And the time frame being not just current financial measures, but longer-term measures of value creation, what's issues that relate to sustainability of the business enterprise. And then there's these other things here that are aspired to, that this would provide greater transparency. It would be less bound by very narrow rules, and we'd have a much more concise, focused report that you could sort out the forest from the trees. And also, there's a view that probably ought to make better use of technology and financial reporting, so you might be able to have different levels of information and drill downs that can suit people with different levels of inquiry.